I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today I'm joined by Mr. Nico Lagan. He is an independent reporter, podcaster, political commentator, men's rights advocate, and social media strategist. He is also the host of the political Orphans, the Conservative Corner, and Unwoken with Nico Lagan. With over 200,000 followers and millions of monthly views, his bold takes have earned him features on Times Square billboards, TV, radio, and platforms like Sean Kelly's Digital Hour, Jubilee Media's Common Ground, and the Enemies Project. So, Nico, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
You're gonna have to be a lot more precise than that, brother. I do a lot of things. I've had a very interesting life, so it depends where you want to go. Like you said, I create content for a living. I run a bunch of podcasts. I do a lot of political commentating. I'm a big men's right activist. Like I've been on Jubilee Media's Common Ground platform to debate feminists. So I have very strong opinions when it comes to where society is going and how we can change it. So that's what I normally do every day, 12, 14 hours a day is I record content, I post content, and I debate people.
Tell me a little bit about how you got into wanting to debate with people, and a little bit about how investigative reporting kind of became a thing.
They made me. This is was never the intent. I'm a sales engineer by trade. I was in telecommunications for 20 years, and I was a sales engineer for about 12 years, and I was selling telecommunication services to some of the biggest companies in Canada, the US. I dealt with federal governments, provincial governments, and municipal governments. And then when COVID happened, they wanted me to take the vaccine. I refused, and I lost my career over it. I wasn't able to teach martial art because I'm a martial artist. Like I used to fight as an amateur, and I was coaching champions prior to COVID, and I pretty much lost everything during COVID. They prevented me from going to work. They prevented me from teaching, and I moved to my cabin in the woods, stayed there for 2.5 years, and I looked at what we call our transferable skills. And as a sales guy, I figured that putting a camera in my face and talking about my opinions would be pretty simple. So that's what I did. And before you know it, I was exploring the US. My wife and I probably spent 3 years, 2.5 years traveling the US. We did 30 states, coast to coast to coast, pulling in an RV. So they made me, man. Was never the intent at all, at all. I had an extremely successful career. I was buying investment houses and I was investing my money to make even more. Like I was on the path of becoming a millionaire, and next thing you know, I get everything pulled under me. So yeah, that's how I started creating content.
Talking a little bit about younger childhood, it says here that your father had left you when you were 14 and that you had dropped out of high school and had sadly battled addiction. Tell me a little bit about that period of time in your life.
Well, my dad was never really present when I was younger. Like he was an engineer by trade as well, and he was always on the road. He's ex-military, so he was always traveling. So I don't have a lot of memories of my dad even younger. But when I was 14, my parents got divorced. My mom could not handle me. Like I was a troubled kid. Let's be honest here. I was not a nice youth. I was not a good person, and within my dad left, I was 14. By the time I was 15, I was doing drugs every day. I was drinking every day. I was dropping out. I had dropped out of high school, and I continued on that path for what, 5 or 6 years. I left my mother's house. I was probably 17 years old, moved by myself, and I was selling drugs to support my habits, pay for the bills, support my habits, and that went on for years and years and years until my early 20s, where I went back to school.
What kind of drugs, was there a particular kind of drug that you were addicted to, or was it just kind of a variety of drugs that you were addicted to?
A bunch of stuff, a bunch of different stuff. I was, how do you call it? I've always been smart enough to not touch drugs like cocaine, heroin. I've always smart enough to know that this was not for me. But I would say that my drug of choice was definitely alcohol. Like definitely alcohol. I was a heavy drinker, and that lasted even when I went back to school. I was still a pretty heavy drinker. I don't drink anymore, or barely any, but alcohol by far. But I used to sell drugs, but I did a lot of hallucinogens like LSD, magic mushroom, the drugs that play with your mind, if you will. But I was a heavy pot smoker, a heavy cannabis smoker. But like I said, my drug of choice was definitely alcohol. To this day, is still something that I enjoy a bit too much, so I tend to just stay away from it.
Did you attend rehab during this time? And
I did try. I did try the NA, the AAs. That wasn't for me. I'm the type of person that will, if I put my mind to something, I'll just do it. I don't need a group to support me, to tell me that I'm doing good. If my mind is set on doing something, I'm doing it. But I tried. That was what happened in my early 20s is my mom called me asking me if I was happy with my life. And I was literally sitting in my apartment getting evicted for the third time in about 3 years. And I didn't have a place to go. So my mom asked me if I was happy with my life. And literally imagine that I'm sitting on the ground, my boxes are packed, and I don't know where I'm going. So I chose to go back to my mom's place, but one of the things she wanted is for me to attend those NA/AA meetings, but I just cut all ties. I literally, to this day, I don't talk to the people I used to hang out with prior to the age of 21. Like those are guys I've known for years, but the day I decided to move back to my mom's place, I literally stopped seeing everybody and just concentrated on me. I became selfish. At the end of the day, in order to give back, you need to first be selfish. So that's what I did. I concentrated on what I had to do, which was be as far as possible away from any type of drugs, any type of alcohol, and the people that I used to sell with. Because at the end of the day, it's all intertwined. If you have to sell drugs to support a habit, you need to sell drugs. You just do, because you need to pay for your own life. And I didn't have any skills back then. I had worked as a dishwasher in a restaurant, but that's pretty much all the skills that I had back then. So selling drugs is all I knew. And when I went back, I had to stop everything. It's the only way to quit, if you ask me. So I just went back. I went back to my mom's place and stopped overnight. I literally stopped consuming overnight. Went back to school, did a high school equivalency. Next thing you know, I did a DeVry style of college, like something that was a professional college, and not something that was done by the city, or I think you guys in the US, I don't know, I think you're in the US, right?
Hmm.
I think you guys like not a community college, but something like a DeVry. I think you know what DeVrys are, right? So something similar to that. I did a course in computer technician in a year and a half. I did a fast track course and I started working. And within 7 years, I went from answering the phone in a small technical support line to selling $1 million contracts to some of the biggest companies in Canada and the US.
Has anyone from your past that you had interacted with during that time have reached out since then to maybe give condolences or be like, sorry for how I acted to you or anything?
No, no. A lot of the guys I used to hang out with, they got older, but they still consume, right? They still smoke, they still drink, they might have kids, but they're still stuck in the same pattern that they were when we were 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. It's very hard to interact with people that have not gone past that stage and still expect them to be self-aware. It's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. Plus, they have no way to reach me. They can't find me on social media because Nico Lagan's not my real name. It's an abbreviation of my real name. And what would they look for? They don't. My Facebook got banned, so that's the only way they would have been able to find me is off of Facebook because I had it for almost for what 15, 16 years. But they can't find me, so I don't know. I have no clue where they're at, what they're doing outside of I've heard through the grapevines that they haven't changed much.
After you had gotten done with school, tell me how life was like after you had actually gone to college and was able to start rebuilding your life again.
You know, the thing that probably changed me the most is discovering the gym in college. Because I was a scrawny kid. I'm 6'1" or 6'2", somewhere along those lines. And I used to weigh 145 pounds. In kilos, you're probably looking at 65 kilos, 67 kilos. I was a scrawny kid. Like I played basketball throughout my life, and I discovered the gym and I started putting weight on, as in I could finally do something with this body of mine. And I also discovered martial arts at the same time. So, as much as going back to school allowed me to have a career, the thing that really changed me is discovering the gym and martial art. Because to this day, I'm 43. I've been going to the gym for 20, 22 years now, nonstop, every week, never stops. And I'm like, 230 pounds now. So I'm almost 100 pounds heavier than I used to be when I was in early 20s. And man, I I was bullied when I was younger. Like I said, I was a scrawny kid, right? And when I went back to school, discovered the gym. I'm like, hey, maybe I can stop being a victim and learn martial art. And next thing you know, I started fighting. Like my coach put me in a ring. That was not the intent, but I started fighting and I became an amateur champion for North America in Muay Thai. So those are the two things that led me to be able to run meetings because, as you said, it's great to have an education, but they don't, a lot of the education we get today don't give you the skills you actually need in real life in order to be able to perform. Your school is not going to show you how to put presentations together and be able to show up to $1 million contract and have to sell it to 20 people sitting there all
Mhm.
listening to you. They don't teach you that stuff. That's something that you're going to have to go out there and discover for yourself. But if it wasn't for the fact that I fought in front of people, I would have never had the balls or the courage to actually do it. Because you know, man, when you step in a ring with someone, the rest of your life tends to dial down. When you have somebody in front of you that's trying to rip your head off your shoulders, you're not too worried about putting a suit on and going to talk to corporate people about how our services are better than what they have right now. So it tends to dial everything down and make everything else starts making more sense.
You're also part of your career as a political commentator, and I know you live up in Canada, and for What's been your opinions about this whole United States thing with the political climate? What's your opinion about politics here in the United States right now?
I most of my content has been for the US. Only about 6 months ago that I changed because I spend half of my year in the US. This year is the first winter in 4 years that I will be in Canada because my son was just born about 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago. So we're gonna stay here so that he can spend his first Christmas with his family, with his extended family. But it's the first time, so I spend normally half of my year. I think I spent more time in the US over the past 3 years than I did in Canada. But to answer your question, you guys are starting to see a cultural shift because if you follow politics, if you follow culture, and if you look throughout history, it's like a pendulum. Culture is always swinging from one side to the other, right? There for decades it's more leftist. For afterwards it becomes more conservative, and it tends to swing both sides, but it never stays somewhere in the middle. It always swings on both sides. And
Hmm.
right now you're at that swing. Since Trump got reelected, you're starting to see that pendulum go from the left more to the right. But just look at Charlie Kirk, for example. He's the perfect example of this. When he got assassinated, I had whatever if you believe in conspiracy theories or not, it doesn't really matter, but it seemed that people were using it as the right was turning Charlie Kirk in a martyr, and the left mainstream media was turning Charlie Kirk as a racist, xenophobe, all the words in the dictionary to be against him. And that's how media works, right? They're always trying to segregate the left from the right, but at the same time, if you start looking at the bell curve, most people sit somewhere in the middle, left of middle, right of middle. But if you look, about 65 to 70% of people sit somewhere in the middle. They're not on the left, they're not on the right, but they tend to agree with a lot of things that people say, but they have to pick a choice because that's what we're being told. And it's interesting because you look at Charlie Kirk, and I thought when he got shot that it would further divide the left from the right. But it seems that it's segregating the left. The woke left, as you would call them, are
Hmm.
separating from, like, the common sense leftists are kind of looking at the woke left and they're like, hold on here, you're trying to tell me that it's okay to assassinate someone because you don't like them? That's not right. And then even the common sense lefties are like, yeah, that's not okay. So where else are they supposed to go? They're starting to look across the aisle and saying to the conservative, well, maybe you guys had a point. So I'm not saying that they're going to join the conservative or they're going to join the Republican, but it's interesting to see the divide is not created between the left and the right, but it's created between the left and the left. I so you said at the beginning that I'm the host of a show called The Political Orphans. I record every single day, 2 hours a day, live with a leftist. I'm a Christian conservative recording content with a liberal or a Democrat, as you would call them in Canada, in the US. So
Hmm.
every day we debate what's going on in the news. We try to find common ground, and we tend to agree on most of the problems. We just disagree on the solution because we have that civil discourse similar to what Charlie Kirk was doing in universities, just trying to have a conversation. And that's what I'm finding that's incredible right now in the US. That pendulum is swinging back to the middle. And it seems like his death is actually opening up the door to more discourse. Because even my liberal co-host he did not know who Charlie Kirk was. I knew who he was. I've recorded podcasts with some of the people that toured with him, and I had an idea what he was doing, but he wasn't, like, his message wasn't for me. There's nothing that Charlie Kirk said that I wasn't aware of already, but he had a massive influence on those 18 to 25, 16 to 25 age group. Those are the people that were really listening to him. And it's interesting because now that he's been assassinated, a lot of the videos are coming out of him just debating people, being respectful and debating them, and to a point where my liberal co-host is like, oh damn, that was Charlie Kirk. I'm like, well, yeah, they're always portraying him as a bad person, but at the end of the day, he had some valid points. You don't need to agree with everything that he says, because I don't agree with everything that he says, But at the same time, he did create a civil discourse that nobody else had the balls to create. And he did it in extremely leftist education system that is your school system in the US. And believe me, Canada is no different. But yeah, that whole thing is very interesting. And I don't think that it would have happened under a Democrat government. Because love or hate Trump, he kind of made it okay to be a conservative, to be somebody that was not woke, that was not a leftist. He's not banning anybody from speaking their opinion. And I believe in free speech, number one. I'm an absolutist when it comes to free speech. I don't think there should be any restraint on free speech. I want people to feel so comfortable that they can say whatever they want and let us, the people, deal with it. Just again, what you're seeing with Charlie Kirk, a lot of people celebrated his death online. It's been reported that hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the US and Canada lost their jobs for celebrating online. And you know what? It's not conservative or Republicans that canned them, that fired them. They're just regular people that are like, that's not the type of employee that I want. This is the type of society I want to live in. But at the same time, if you look, I don't know if you saw that, but Pam Bundy just a couple of days ago said that she wants to go after hate speech. We're like, we cannot talk ill of Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely not. You are so wrong. So wrong. Free speech means 100% free speech. Hate speech does not exist. I don't care about hate speech. If my words hurts your feelings, it's your problem, not mine. You check the mirror. So this is the thing, right? The Republicans for years have been ripping into the Democrats for censoring people on platform like Facebook or meta platforms, so Facebook and Instagram, and it's been proven to be right. And I was one of them. But what's interesting is now that the pendulum is swinging, it seems like Pam Bundy thinks it's okay to censor people. But luckily, I'm happy to see that she's getting a massive backlash from the right saying, yeah, no, you don't get to do that. We can't complain about that for decades and then turn around and do exactly to them what they did to us. That's not free speech. So you guys are in a very interesting. I love where you guys are at right now because there's a lot of open discussions that haven't happened in at least since Obama. Those discussions have not happened, and it's cool to see it. It's just very interesting to see it.
Politics here's always been kind of a. I think most people are scared to talk about it. I'm one that doesn't really open up about it, mainly because I don't like to start strong debates, really. I tend to just kind of go with the flow. I don't really care what your views are or nothing. I just kind of go off what I believe in. Uh, I had like an interesting thing with Charlie Kirk. When news broke that he got shot, I was like, who? I didn't know who he was, but I actually ended up seeing like a video of him on social media of him doing one of his debates, and I remember seeing a video similar to that, and I thought, oh, that's who it was. So after I kind of saw what he did, I actually had seen one video of him, but it's just interesting because politics here, it's very much some people only believe in one thing, and it's everything else that you say is lies or is just complete nonsense to them. So it's interesting right now, especially, and everyone just has a different opinion. I'm pretty sure people that live outside the US think that we're crazy for how we do politics and how we have political opinions around here. But I guess
I'm
kind
a
of
fan, man. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the US. I love the US. Oh,
a follow-up question to that, with political opinions, like Charlie Kirk's being vocal about his opinions and whatnot, do you have any worry about maybe sometime worrying about how your opinions may come across, and do you worry about repercussions that might come from that?
nope. Not a worry for me whatsoever. I've had, I can't be employed. Nobody in Canada would ever employ me again in my old career because of the beliefs that I have. And they're out there, right? I post 5, 6, 7, 8 times every day on 7 different platforms. So my opinion, if you want to know what I stand for, it's very easy to figure it out. So, no, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all whatsoever. It doesn't bother me. I get so much hate, and I get hate from the Republicans slash conservatives as much as I do the liberals or the Democrats because I sit somewhere in the middle. At the end of the day, my values are not based in politics. My values are based off the Bible. I'm a Christian first and foremost, and I'm not here to please people. So I love to agree or disagree with people. Like I said, I debate a liberal every single day. And we have people that follow the show are both very liberal, very conservative, or somewhere in the middle. And this is what drives the conversation. This is what I want to promote, a civil discourse. So I want people to disagree with me. But if you're going to disagree with me, make sure that you're prepared because I'm here to debate too. If you want to challenge me, awesome. Awesome. But my opinions are not based on emotions. My opinions are based on facts that I can regurgitate to you on the spot. So prove your just my co-host says that all the time, but if you want to debate, prove your work, show your work. Like come with a valid opinion and be ready to explain and actually confirm your opinions based on fact, not just on the way that you feel. Because unfortunately, you said something that I took a note of. It's unfortunate because the three main topic that people don't want to talk about: religion, politics, and money, which are about the three most important thing that matters to everybody, but we
Mm-hmm.
refuse to talk about it because we're scared that we're going to insult people or people are not going to like us because we have different views than them. Yet how can you ever change the way that we perceive each other if you don't address the three main topics that everybody has an opinion on? Everybody has an opinion on politics. Everybody has an opinion on religion. Everybody has an opinion on money. Those are the three things that I don't care who you are, you have an opinion. You like it, you don't like it, but you have an opinion. Yet
Mm-hmm.
we refuse to talk about it because we're scared of our own opinions, often because we're not researched enough, or we're scared of the reaction of other people. They're going to think we're crazy. Not going to agree with us because they are definitely subjects that will divide people. No questions about it. But if you want to live in a society where you prone civil discourse, you need to be able to speak about those things. You need to. You have to be able to speak about it. And I don't care that you agree or disagree with me. I'm not looking for an echo chamber. I don't create content for people to tap me on the shoulder and say I'm awesome. I create content in order to drive a conversation that 99.9% of content creators out there don't have the balls to talk about. They feel the need because you look at the content that's on social media right now, most of it is walking a party line. It doesn't matter that it's on the left or it's on the right. People toe the party line. I don't. I never did. I never will. And I call out my leaders no matter what. If they're wrong, they're wrong. If they're right, they're right. And I don't care that I would vote for you or not. If I don't even need to like you to actually say that you're right. I will respect your opinion because you said it, even if I disagree. That's what we need to go back to. We need to be able to have those civil discourse while staying polite without name callings to be able to kind of bridge that divide that we're seeing. Like your picture in the back of you is probably a very good depiction of this. So that divide that you're seeing where the clouds are, this is the gap that you have between the left and the right, and the only way to bridge that is to be able to have a civil conversation between people who disagree.
Well, your reviews have been highly marketed. I mean, you've been featured on Times Square billboards, you've been on multiple TV, radio, and have been on different platforms. How does it feel to be able to be reached on these major platforms? You've also been featured on a huge, huge show. So, how does it feel to you to finally to be able to reach your message and have like millions of people potentially see and believe in what you think?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know. To me, I just record the content, and when I was still in sales, I could see the people I'm talking to. They would be right there in the same room as me, or they would be on conference calls, but I would still interact with people directly as I'm speaking to them, like I'm speaking to you right now. But I can produce a piece of content where I'm talking to those people. It'll hit 4 million views it doesn't, I cannot comprehend what that means. I don't understand what that means. In my head, I cannot believe that potentially 4 million people saw me talk in my phone. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not in front of me. So it's in my head. I don't want to say that it's not real, but I cannot comprehend what that actually means. I don't know. I really don't know. I've been to some really big shows. I've been flown away. I just came back from LA. Not LA, sorry, San Francisco, about a month ago, and I was invited to go debate someone. And the podcast is not out yet, but it's going to make for great content. But at the end of the day, I was recording with somebody on the other side of me, and then there was a mediator. The host is a mediator by career. So we're three people with a bunch of cameras and lighting. I have three, four cameras myself. I think I have 5 different cameras with all the lighting. Like right now, I have all professional equipment lighting this. So to me, it's just normal to be in front of cameras. But what does that mean to reach millions of people? I don't know. I ask myself that question all the time. I don't know what it means. I don't know.
When people listen to your shows and hear your message, what would you like people to kind of have take away from them? What would be some of kind of, I guess, the end goal and message that you'd like to give out to people?
That I'm not perfect, that you're not perfect, that you're going to make mistakes. And at the end of the day, it's okay. Because if you look at one of the biggest problems that I have with politicians, I don't like politicians, by the way. As much as I talk about politics day in, day out, I dislike politicians. And that's because they don't really care. They don't care about being right. They just care about people think they're right. I make mistakes on my own show. I made mistakes where on the same show or 2 shows after, I'm going to come back and say, hey guys, I said this on Monday. It's Wednesday today. I was wrong. This is actually what happened. So I want to correct what I said. This is when I want to show people, do your research, do your homework, base your opinions on facts and not emotions. And don't be scared to be wrong. Can you imagine how refreshing it would be to have a guy like Donald Trump showing up and say, guys, I messed up. I said this, it was wrong. I apologize for it, but you know what? Here's the solution. That's what I did for more than 12 years as a sales engineer. I've How many times have I been to a to a meeting with a customer? Customer asked me a technical question and I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to this, but you know what? Give me time, I'll find you an answer. Or how many times have I made mistakes? And then you just go back, you take it on the chin and you're just like, Mr. Customer, this is what I said. I was wrong. This is a reality. And these are our options. What do we do? So just, at the end of the day, you need to be able to debate the people you disagree with. And hopefully this is the space that my co-host and I are creating is here's a place where you can come in, debate us and debate each other in the chat. Just do your thing, show your work, be respectful, and let's see if we can find solutions to the problem that we face together.
Do you have any future plans of what you would like to do in the political climate, of any kind of end goals that you would like to maybe achieve, whether it's more shows or kind of hit like a bigger audience or speaker or anything like that?
Well, we're definitely working on something. I can't really talk about it much right now, but we're working on something big behind the scene where we want to put our independent content out there. Because one of the biggest problems that we have in Canada, for example, we don't really have a mainstream media on the right. Like you guys have Fox News ish on the right, and then you have MSNBC and other platforms like them on the left, and then you have a bunch of independents that sit somewhere in the middle or walk the party line. In Canada, we don't have the right side of the equation. Our conservatives in Canada are closer to your Democrats than they are the Republican. Like I'm more conservative than the conservatives. And we don't have that spectrum on the right or even middle in the right. So I'm working right now with a couple of other people, other big content creators to kind of build a platform where we can have that civil discourse. We can have opinions that are more conservative while not stopping the people on the left from being on that platform too, to be able, I want, at the end of the day, if I would like to be able to build a platform where we can have debates, civil debates about subjects that we never hear people talk about, like climate change being one of them, for example. We always hear the climate change is doing this, is doing that, but we never hear the other side of the story. We never get two scientists that have two different opinions be on the same platform and speak, actually present their case on each side, so that the listeners can actually make their own opinions afterwards and say, oh, okay, I didn't know that, I didn't know this, but that's perfect. Okay, I'm going to go research it now, see what makes sense to me or not. This is what we're working on, to be able to have that civil discourse, no matter if you believe in it or not. But it's hard. I got to tell you, not a lot of leftists want to speak to conservatives, unfortunately. Unfortunately, they tend to not want to speak to us because we disagree with them. And it's unfortunate, because we need those type of conversations. So if that's the platform we're working on right now, and it shouldn't take too long before it's a reality.
You seem like so hardworking. I think it is kind of a good thing for you to be able to kind of put this platform out there to kind of give people a chance to be able to speak, kind of give their opinion and have like a good debate on a kind of on a broadcasting level. So I think it's a great idea what you're doing because you are right. We have so many news outlets here that are very much right wing, left wing, so they kind of have that good debate. It's a little surprising that Canada doesn't have something like that. So, I think that would be such a great thing for Canada for to do and for people to kind of come on there for their opinion. You know,
But even the right, I would argue that even in the US, you guys don't have a lot of conversation between the left and the right. The principle applies to you guys too. There are echo
yeah,
chambers on both sides. And as soon as they start talking against the other side, it's vilifying them, as in they're the enemy. You and I could
yeah,
disagree heavily on something. I would never see you as my enemy. Never. Like, I don't hate anybody. Do I dislike people? Oh yeah, there's a lot of people I dislike. But I hate is such a strong word that is just thrown around day in, day out, and it baffles me. But as I said, even the US doesn't have those civil discourse, because a lot of the people I talk to are from the US. Because the problems that we have in Canada and the US are pretty damn similar. Like, we're not that far. As somebody that's traveled 30 states in your country, there's not much difference between Canada and the US, as in culture wise. The South is different, I got to tell you. We don't have a lot of people like the people in the South in Canada outside of Alberta, but it's the need is still there in the US to have that civil discourse between the left and the right.
a lot of people feel intimidated to speak their minds about what they believe in and whatnot. What advice do you have to people that would like to kind of share their political opinions, but are kind of just too afraid to really speak out there for offending them? What advice do you have for them on how they can appropriately approach that and be able to speak their truth and be able to kind of open up about their beliefs?
That is a difficult question, because it depends what your beliefs are based on. It depends why you do it. Why do you want to share your opinion? Why does it matter to you? At the end of the day, I don't share my opinions because this is what I wanted to do. I was put into that role. I'm a God fearing man. I was put in that role by God to say, those are the skills that you possess, and you're not scared to take the hit. So do it. That's the job that I have for you. So my values and the reason I do this are not because of me. It'd be a lot easier for me to shut that camera off and just live my life like I used to. I'd make a lot more money, and my life wouldn't be as complicated as it is now, because I wouldn't have to get hated on every single day of my life every time I touch my phone. But it wouldn't be my authentic goals. It wouldn't be what drives me. It wouldn't be what my purpose in life is. So I think that's where the question resides: is what's your purpose? Why would you want to approach those subjects? Why would you want to talk about them? Because you need to be rooted in very strong values. If you want to speak your opinion, because a lot of people don't understand what it feels like to open your, like, you can open your Instagram and have hundreds if not thousands of comments that are targeting you, that are against you, people resharing your stuff and talking ill about you. Most people don't know what it feels like, will never understand what it feels like. But there's a good reason you don't see my wife anywhere. There's a good reason you'll never see my son anywhere. Like, just the podcast that I was on in San Francisco, he just asked me this morning, "Hey, can you send me pictures of you and your son, you and your wife?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I will not. I will not publicize to the world who's my wife. Like, she follows me, but there's no connection. You, unless you know me personally, you have no clue who my wife is, and you'll never see my son until he's old enough to make that decision for himself." But this is the thing. You need to realize that if you're going to speak your opinion, it's great, and everybody should, no matter what it is. Again, I believe in free speech 100%. There's no gray area when it comes to free speech. You either have it or you don't. So speak your truth, but be careful, because there will be a backlash. If your opinions is strong enough, don't be surprised that people clap back at you. And one of the things I've learned is, if nobody's clapping back at you, is because you're not reaching people. The day you really start reaching people with your opinion, people will hate you. That's a fact. That comes with the territory. People feel very secure to speak their mind on social media because they don't have to talk to somebody directly. They do it through a piece of electronic, and it shields them, like keyboard warriors. There's a lot of them out there. But you have to, at the again, why do you do it? Why do you want to speak your opinion? I think is a question people should ask themselves before they start doing it, because I'm telling you, people will hate. No matter what, people will hate.
Absolutely. And, it's a thing where you have to have tough skin where when you're in the political sense, because as you said, you're going to have people that are going to hate you for any reason. We're so divided here where it's like, I like American cheese. And they're like, you'll have people hate you on that just from you saying that quote. You have to have tough skin because you can't let every quote or every comment get you down, because if every comment gets you down, then then you can't be truthful to yourself. You have to take it lightheartedly, and you just have to run with it and be like, okay, and continue on. So I think if you speak, you gotta have tough skin. If you don't have tough skin, I don't reckon this don't speak your mind, because if you don't want to get your feelings hurt or anything, just
Yep.
expect. I mean, if you're gonna be open and honest with your politics, you just be prepared for the backlash that you might receive, and you just kind of have to prepare.
But it's a good it's a good life experience to actually get pushed back, because it will, your reaction will tell you if you really believe in your opinions or not. Like, I'll give you an example. The other day, we a buddy of mine and myself have been starting a late night show on Saturdays. Like, we run from like 8 to 10, 8 to 11 at night, and we have mashups. So we have a bunch of people with massive audiences show up to the show, and we just talk about, like, we talked about a very vile story that happened in Canada a couple of weeks ago, where there's this guy that abused a toddler, like a 3-year-old. And I started doing research because it had been the second time that he'd been convicted. He was just released 6 months ago after 1 year in prison. He only served 1 year for abusing another child. So I was looking for a offender, like a sexual offender list. And in Canada, unlike the US, because I know, again, I spend a lot of my time in the US. I know in the US, postal code, boop, it will tell you everybody that's registered as a sex predator in your area. Canada, it is not public. There's no way for you to know who those predators are. I did not know that. I thought, in my head, I was just I was naive to believe that this was the case in Canada too. So I started doing research. Turns out it's not available to us. So one of the questions that I ask people is, do you think this should be available? Do you think that should be publicly available? Everybody agreed. But then the real question I ask is, what do you think should be the consequences? If you look at what's going on with DeSantis in Florida, he's put back a death penalty on pedophiles, which until we had that debate, I'd agree with. And then three of the guys on the podcast, they're like, and they're conservatives. They're like, no. Do you really want your government to be able to kill you? Do you want them to have the opportunity to kill you? Because where do you move the line? Right now, it's just for pedophiles that you agree with, but next thing you know, it could be anything else. So see, that's my point. If we wouldn't have had that conversation, I wouldn't have realized that. Is that really what you want? Do you want your government to be able to get rid of you legally? Because what's the next step? Where does that needle move afterwards? So this is why it's so important to be able to speak your mind, but also be around people that will challenge you. Because my co-host and I both kind of sat back and were like, damn, I never thought about it this way. That's actually so it's good to have an opinion. Make sure that you've done your work, that you know what you're talking about, and be ready to be proven wrong. This is what I enjoy the most about those conversations, is situations like those where because we record everything live. So I'm there live and I'm like, you can see it. You can see it in my face. I'm just, damn, he actually got me on that one. Damn. So this is a beautiful thing. If your opinion's based on facts and you're ready to be challenged, perfect for you to have debates. But make sure you'll realize that when you start debating people, you will have to show your work, and it will tell you right away if your opinions are valid or not, if you actually do believe in those opinions or not. No matter what, it's a win-win-win if you don't let your ego take over because you've been proven wrong.
I think that is great advice. I think you put that the best I've ever heard from someone that's really into politics about that. So, you know, I think the end message that I know Nico wants to perceive, and what I would want to give across is speak your mind, and be proud to be able to have your opinion. That's why there is free speech. Just be prepared for the comments that you receive. You'll sometimes receive good comments, you'll get bad comments. You're going to get a mixture of both. Just be firm in what you believe in. Don't let those negative opinions affect you from speaking your mind. Just be proud of it and just be real open about it. Um, I'm not a political professional at all. And, there's probably a lot of questions that people might have about maybe beliefs or something that they might want to. Oh, this is a serious topic, and they want to ask you a question. Where can people best if people have a question or just need some additional advice from you, and maybe would like to maybe see some of your work, share with me a little bit about your social media and your website, and feel free to promote whatever you got going on.
Just look for nicolagan.com is my website. If you look for me on social media, I'm on every single platform, so you can find me at Real Nico Lagan. And YouTube is different because I modified my platform for the Political Orphan Show, where I record with my leftist co-host. That's the Poly Orphan, as in political orphans, but POLI orphans. But yeah, you can reach out to me on social media. I actually answer. I answer my comments. I speak if I have the time. I try to make the time every single day to go in my comments and actually interact with people, especially the ones that disagree with me. I will interact with them. You can send me a private message on any of those platforms, and chances are that I will eventually answer it because I do want to interact with people. Disagree, agree, don't care. I want to speak to people, and if somebody takes the time to reach out, it'd be very hypocritical of me not to answer.
I will put all of his links in the description box below. I'll put his website and all of his social media platforms so that it's all easy access for you guys to easily find him. Um, You can also follow me on social media as well. Instagram, TikTok, Lethal Venom Podcast. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Noah's Podcasts on there. And as always, feel free to listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's basically everywhere, so feel free to listen to that wherever you get your podcasts from. Nico, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. And I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of comfort in this interview, and be kind of maybe make some be a little bit more bold to have their opinions shared. So I appreciate you so much for coming on here and sharing your opinions and giving such great advice.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Well, for Nico and for me, thank you for listening to today's episode. If you hopefully everyone has a great rest of your day and week. Be safe, make good decisions, and I will see you on the next episode of Lethal Venom.